Hey, good morning. This is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and I'm happy to be here, as I usually am, on Wednesday at 10 o'clock to share Stonemaier Games news, to answer any questions that you have, any non-spoiler questions that you have, and to discuss some random topics. I'll start off because I sometimes forget this these days because I don't keep chocolate on my desk intentionally because I will eat it if it's on my desk. But my chocolate of the day today is gelato from Gelato de Riso here in St. Louis. Even though it is autumn verging on winter here, we have had a nice few couple of warmer days, and so I got some gelato the other day. I got like the biggest scoop possible of gelato, including Gelato de Riso's chocolate gelato, which is really good. And so I'll be having a little bit of that after lunch today. So let me know what you are indulging in today, what your treat of the day is. Hey, Tony, George, Tim, thanks for joining me today. Nicholas is here as well. This has been a really fun week over the last week. Last week, we revealed the new expansion for Tapestry, Arts and Architecture. And over the last week, I've revealed pretty much everything that's in the expansion. The Automa solo mode stuff will be tomorrow, and then a few odds and ends and rulebooks will be on Friday, followed by reviews early next week. But it's been a lot of fun to do that. Mike said that the new expansion looks great. He loves the minis. And so, yeah, I wanted to share some of that stuff today on video since you've only seen it probably in the post in the Tapestry Facebook group, on our website, or on Board Game Geek. So the new Sieves, there are 5 new civilizations. I revealed these in today's blog post. And these I'm really excited about. We did 5 because Tapestry is a 5-player game, and so we figured we wanted to get 1 for each player in here. We actually started out with around 15 different ideas, but we whittled it down to those that really worked well and were the most fun and the most unique, and we got down to 5. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us today. I haven't revealed the rulebook yet. I did reveal the reference guide, so the double-sided reference guide with text on one side and the arts track on the other side, full explanations of that. And what else have I revealed? This is the Tapestry expansion I'm talking about. Solo stuff will come tomorrow. Oh yeah, one of the big reveals were the new advanced capital city mats. So these are mats where it's not just kind of the, I don't want to say generic puzzle, but vanilla puzzle in the core game with these capital cities, where they're just a little bit different. These are wildly different capital cities that give you a really truly unique puzzle. 2 of the ones that I talked about in the post were the archipelago, where you have all these islands that you have to fill in, and there's a ton of impassable terrain, but you cannot overlap. You cannot put you can't put buildings on impassable terrain, and so you're really constricted by these islands, even though they're easier to complete than normal districts. And then I talked about the swamp, where you have these lily pads that count as completely filled territories or completely filled plots for the purpose of like completing districts and rows and columns. But at the end of the game, if you haven't covered them up, they're worth negative victory points. Not a ton of negative victory points. We went back and forth on exactly how many that should be, and we ended up with 2 victory points per lily pad. Just a little bit at the end of the game if you decide not to cover them up. And then there are a total of 6 of these capital city mats, these advanced capital cities. I'll come back to some of the other content in a second. Let me look at the questions here so far. Chris says, how's my dad and how are my cats? My dad's going into round 6 of chemo today. So good news is chemo seems to be working. Bad news is chemo isn't fun at all. And so that's where my dad is right now. My cats are happily resting on the bed. Tim says, the video is super choppy this morning again. That's odd. I haven't... This week I'm not sharing, as far as I know, with any other groups. Yeah, I'm not sharing with a group, so it's just choppy video, I guess. Sorry about that. Alex from Board Game Co. is here. He says, for Rolling Realms, what are the plans for adding non-Stonemaier games? Or Stonemaier Games realms, I think is what you're saying. So Alex, one of the realms that I've revealed is the Terra Mystica realm. So this is our initial plan for non-Stonemaier Games realms, was to reach out to the localization partners we work with, many of which are large publishers in other countries that have a variety of non-Stonemaier games. And we made a little offer to them to say they could design promo realms, process them through me, and we would end up publishing them and printing them and providing them for those localization partners. But actually, only one localization partner, Fureland, with Terra Mystica, has replied with one of those so far, hence why we had that one and no other ones. However, I have started reaching out to other publishers. I started out with just a few publishers and games of theirs that I really love, and I kind of put out a little proposal for them for how it would work. And so far, we have one response from one of those publishers. They sent me a really cool realm that we are going to work on. and I'm excited to receive others. So it's it's a little bit of a partnership, but it's pretty easy. Basically, I will send these publishers a copy of Rolling Realms. They'll design the initial concept for a promo realm, and then I'll develop it. I'll hone it, and then I'll take care of the art and the design and the publishing, and we pay them a little bit too, a little upfront cost for the time that they spend with that conceptual design. That's the method that I'm pursuing right now, that I'm kind of testing out with these other publishers. But I welcome suggestions, Alex. If you have a game that you think would be a lot of fun to see as a promo realm in Rolling Realms, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyone, Alex, and anyone else who's watching today. Some other people say that it's not choppy, so maybe it's choppy depending on where you're watching this video. Felipe says, is there a new balance, new adjustments for the civilizations? A little bit. Pretty much we post, after we finish playtesting and the data analysis for the latest expansion for Tapestry Arts and Architecture, as we usually did, we did a full data analysis based on the data that we had from that playtesting data and the data that we had collected from players, active players up to that point. And we posted most of that on the website a long time ago. However, I made one adjustment to that post today because there is one faction or one civ, the historians, that we've made an adjustment based on when the arts track is in the game. And those notes are on the last page of the rulebook here. So you can see those. Those are on our website today, as well as the Design Diary post today. So there are adjustments, but everything else is the same as far as I can tell, except for the historians. And actually, the reason I kind of messed this up earlier is the version I'm holding up right now is incorrect. This is an older version of it that needed correcting in this rulebook. And so the correct version is actually a nerf to the historians, not a little boost. That was a typo in the rulebook. But the real rulebook, the real printed rulebook, is correct, as is the guide that I posted on the website today. Christopher says he's getting ready for his master's in business analytics with a focus on data science. Do you think data science has a place in the board game industry, such as machine learning, etc.? I think it probably has a place, especially in the digital realm of board games. And data analysis certainly has a place. As I was just talking about with the Tapestry civilization adjustments. I think it would be tough to make a full-time career out of it. But if you had a steady job with that background, and then you wanted to freelance a little bit for different companies, I think that could be something that you could do. Yeah, that's me sharing it from the Stonemaier Games perspective, at least. What else have we revealed so far? So the big reveal is the new arts track. So it's a track that folds in half. This is the arts track. You can play with the arts track if you want to. You don't have to, though. It's completely optional if you want to play this arts track. But if you do, you get to play with the inspiration tiles, which are tiles that upgrade your income tracks in Tapestry. And you also get to play with the masterpiece cards. So all these little cards that can fit onto your income mat, and they give you boosts whenever you broadcast. You get to broadcast one of them at a time, and all of them that you have, all masterpiece cards that you have, trigger at the beginning of your income turns. Along with the arts track came a new D20 die that is essentially the same as the original science die, but it adds the arts track to it. And let me see if I can hold up. So I also revealed new Tapestry cards, new tech cards, and new landmark cards that go along with these landmarks. Let's see if I can hold that up. Yeah, so here are the 8 new landmarks in Tapestry Arts and Architecture. I actually hadn't revealed the insert yet, so you're getting a little spoiler today by that insert. I'm going to talk about the insert a little bit on Friday. Not that there's much to say about it, but it did go through some design iterations as we tried to get it to fit properly. So yeah, that's all the Tapestry stuff. I'm happy to answer questions about Tapestry Arts and Architecture if you have any such questions. Alex had the question about the promo realms. He says, excited to see it expand. I also think it's super cool to always have a new realm to look forward to when a new Stonemaier game comes out. Yeah, that's my hope, Alex. Thanks for sharing that. And that is my hope, that all new promo realms based on Stonemaier games are ready in time. That's kind of the key. It's not, I don't know if it'll always happen, but they are ready in time for the release, or at least the pre-order of a new game. So I'm excited about that. Kind of a little bonus that you can get if you're into Rolling Realms whenever you pre-order a new game from Stonemaier Games. That's the plan. We'll see how it actually works out, but I'm hoping that does work out and that people have fun with it. Jazz says that Alex wants a Blood Rage realm. That'd be cool. I'd be up for a Blood Rage realm in Tapestry, not in Rolling Realms. Mike says, what are my thoughts on the new Honeybuzz expansion? You might actually see a quote from me on that project page, because the designer Paul is a friend here in St. Louis, and he brought it to game night, I think just last week, 2 weeks ago. He brought the expansion here, the prototype here. I got to play it and offer them a little quote for their project page. It's a really neat expansion, especially if you've played Honey Buzz a lot. It adds some variety to the kind of the collection mechanism, and I love the economy in the game. And now there's a little more of a choice in that economy area. Yeah, it's a really neat expansion, especially if you've played Honey Buzz a lot. Giovanni says, I wonder if you could do a promo realm for Architects of the West Kingdom where you could capture other players' numbers. Well, Giovanni, that's a good question. I would love to do one of Architects because I love Architects. But one of the core design philosophies of Rolling Realms is that there is no player interaction, that it's completely playable remotely, and it's infinitely scalable. So that's such a core part of the design philosophy of Rolling Realms that we're definitely going to keep that. We can't break away from that. However, I do love the idea of Architects of the West Kingdom. I am going to send Shem a little note. I know he's busy with his big recent reveal, but I will send him a note about that because that would be really cool to see in the game. Justin says he's craving some soup dumplings pretty hard today. He says, I love the food options we have in New York City. How is the food over where you're at? We actually do have soup dumplings here in St. Louis too. I really like St. Louis food. There's a really good variety of food here. You sometimes need to drive a little bit, and by little bit I mean like 10 to 15 minutes to get the exact food that you want. But in every little neighborhood, there's a lot of really good food options. And since going vegetarian, I found that there are a lot of really good vegetarian options. Even one recently I posted about a completely vegan place actually. They're not even vegetarian. I'm vegetarian, not vegan. A completely vegetarian place or vegan place that serves fried chicken sandwiches, fake chicken sandwiches, and it's really, really good. It's called Sweet Art. Maybe I mentioned this before. I'm having deja vu right now, but really, really good fried chicken sandwiches. That's one of the things that I've craved since going vegetarian. Every now and then I get an odd craving for fried chicken, as unhealthy as it is. And so I'm glad that Sweet Art has like a really, really good chicken sandwich, a fake chicken sandwich that I can get. Nathan says, a dice throne realm would be sweet where you're trying to save up 5 of a kind, perhaps using rerolls to perform an ultimate. Yeah, I love that part of dice realms, the idea of having a big ultimate ability. And that, Nathan, I love that idea of kind of save, you could like use dice here and there to gain resources, maybe even stars early on in Dice Throne, or you can save up dice for a big payoff. I love that idea. I'll admit that I have reached out to the Dice Throne folks, and if they're on board, I'm definitely, I really like that idea, actually. Yeah. Matthew says, any chance we'll get a small expansion that lets you use the pets of each character in Scythe? Yeah, I do love the companions, the animal companions in Scythe. And in the original design, or not, I don't want to say the original design, the original concept for Scythe let players work in teams a little bit. So one player would control the character, the other player would control the companion, the animal companion. And I moved away from that because I didn't want to make Scythe a 10-player game. But kind of the overarching answer to your question, Matthew, is that we are done making Scythe stuff. Scythe expansions, the Scythe story is done for Scythe, the tabletop game. So I love the idea. You're welcome to design like a fan expansion for that if you want people to have that option. But we're not going to do any more Scythe stuff at Stonemayer Games. We're still going to obviously support the game through the community, through reprints, things like that. But not through more stuff, not through new stuff. Tim says that he enjoyed playing Wingspan on Android yesterday. Oh yeah, Wingspan did come out on Android yesterday. And Tim said his baby is being born next Tuesday. Congratulations, Tim. That's awesome and very precise. You already know the baby's being born on Tuesday. So I hope, he says he has Rolling Realms packed for the hospital. I'll be thinking of you next Tuesday, Tim, when you go to the hospital with your wife and your family. I hope that goes well for you. Congratulations. David says a friend of mine is currently doing an Uwe Rosenberg month on Twitch. Is that Knights Around the Table? I've heard that, or I've seen that he is doing an Uwe Rosenberg month. He said, would I be interested in supporting, like a Steam appearance, a Stonemaier month? Would love to link the channel if that's okay. You're welcome to link the channel, absolutely, David. I mean, I am happy for any content creators to do Stonemaier focused things. If we have enough games that someone could do a Stonemaier Games top 10 list if they wanted to, a Stonemaier Games week, a month, I would be absolutely honored and flattered if someone wanted to do that. And if anyone wants to reach out to me about, I don't know, appearing during that month to talk about our games, I'm happy to do that. I love appearing on podcasts and YouTube channels and things like that, or written interviews, that too. And the best way to reach me is at my email, jamey@stomeyergames.com. David says, why a D20 instead of a D10 for the new science die? That's a fair question. Why didn't we do a D10? I think it's because I really like how D12s and D20s roll. D12s are my favorite, but we couldn't do a D12 with 5 tracks. And I just think D20s roll better than D10s. D10s kind of have that... it's not completely, it doesn't feel balanced. I know an actual roll of the die is balanced. And maybe there's a D10 that I haven't seen that actually does work well, but I just like the way that a D20 rolls better, in my opinion. Renee says, how about a Honey Buzz realm for Rolling Realms? I love that. Yeah, I'll write that down, especially since I'm friends with the designer. I bet we could arrange something like that. Alex says, you're on point on that Blood Rage comment. He says, well, I wasn't planning on it. Once you said if I had any ideas, I'm currently doodling a Blood Rage realm right now. That's awesome, Alex. It definitely has to happen to a certain point with the publisher's permission. And so if you have an idea, you can send it to me, and maybe I can share that idea with Simon. I don't know if I still have a direct contact there, but I'm sure I can find somebody to reach out to at Simon. But yeah, that's pretty cool. If you have a neat idea for it, let me know, and maybe we do pay publishers a little bit kind of for the permission and for the design time, but I'd be happy to pay that money to you if Simon's on board for that. So if you've designed the concept for them. So yeah, feel free to send that to me. You have my email. I'll answer another question real quick, then I'll jump over to my topics just so you guys can have a variety of things to poke at me about. Joshua says, is there an in-world explanation for the pumpkin building? He says, I live near the London Burger basket building, so there are definitely unique buildings in the real world. Yes, so all of the buildings in Tapestry Arts and Architecture are inspired by buildings in Stonemaier Games. And so this is an actual building, a 3D representation of a building in Charterstone. This building is seen on the cover of Euphoria. We have the clock tower. We have the castle is a nod to a few different buildings between 2 castles. And you can see from the portal-like gateway, it's a nod to My Little Scythe. The windmill, you can find windmills in many of our games. So we needed to include a windmill in this game. And then we have the bird watching portion. I love the villa, the viticulture villa. We have this in the game as well. And the bridge is probably the least obvious, but this bridge, there's a bridge on the cover of Between Two Cities, and so it's kind of a nod to Between Two Cities. I don't think we actually have any bridges in our games, though. Okay, quick topics real quick. I guess, what are we doing? At Stonemaier Games, behind the scenes, we had a good play test the other day for a product that we've been working on for a while, including kind of an out-of-town guest who happened to be in town that I included in this play test. That was fun. I spent some time yesterday paying royalties. We pay our designer royalties once a month. And so I'm always happy to do that, to send our designers a bunch of money. Games I played recently are Shards of Infinity, Gaia Project, and Seven Wonders, Duel, specifically. I got a craving to play that after appearing on the Decision Space podcast last week. I think it just went live today, but we recorded it on Friday. And after talking about it, was a podcast about Seven Wonders Duel. And after talking about it, I just got really excited to play. And so Megan and I played Seven Wonders Duel the other day, followed by the Shards of Infinity expansion. I did my recent blog posts were about the latest status updates for our eco-friendly measures, how we're trying to be a more eco-friendly company. So I talked about that on Monday, very in-depth, very in detail, some roadblocks, some breakthroughs, a little bit of both. And then on Friday, I talked about font rights, the dangers of not getting your font rights correct. And you can see kind of the repercussions in that blog post of not getting them correct early on. I did a video this past weekend, another behind-the-scenes video about Red Rising, kind of the production process, some decisions we made during the design and production process for Red Rising as we decided which components could work or didn't work. Some components didn't work as well as I hoped, and so I talk about that openly in the video and how I would maybe do it a little bit differently next time for the collector's edition specifically. Talked about that in the video. I continue to play Rolling Realms. I think I'm on a pattern of doing 3 live streams a week, 1 round per live stream. So I'm essentially playing 1 game of Rolling Realms live each week, spread over 3 15-minute segments. They're posted on the YouTube channel, and also where you're watching this right now, they're posted on the Stonemaier Games Facebook page as well, in case you ever want to play along live or after the fact. You can do that as well, if you ever get the itch to play Rolling Realms. And last, I guess, just fun stuff I've been doing. I went to a bonfire with some friends this past weekend, or a friend had a bonfire, a small bonfire, a cookout. I played disc golf, and I went to the farmers market at the last open farmers market for the year here in Tower Grove Park. Okay, I'll switch back to your questions. Thanks for your questions. I wanted to throw out some topics in case you wanted to had some questions about them or some thoughts. Lucy's talking about good food in St. Louis. Emo's Pizza. I would not put Emo's Pizza on the good food list, but I understand that some St. Louisers really love that. Toasted Rab is a classic St. Louis food. Oh, I guess, Justin, maybe I misinterpreted your question about food. There are many good restaurants of many good kind of flavors, nationalities, ethnicities in St. Louis. But there's also special St. Louis specific food, including frozen custard, toasted ravioli. Emo's Pizza is unfortunately a St. Louis classic. And gooey butter cake is a St. Louis invented food. In addition to the World's Fair, I think in 1904, 1900, St. Louis had a World's Fair. I think it was 1904. And a lot of food was created or introduced at that World's Fair. I think maybe, I might get this wrong. I think it's like ice cream, hot dogs, and something else were introduced for the first time at that World's Fair. Feel free to fact check me on that, if anyone's watching this right now. Christopher says, has Stonemaier Games ever thought to be a publisher for games that are not available in certain regions, like Stronghold Games and Terraforming Mars? What are the pros and cons of a game having multiple publishers? That's an interesting question. So we have kind of decided fairly early on throughout the company that we are the English language publisher of our games, and then we work with localization partners to bring our games to other languages. But as the English language publisher, we try to serve every region where people want the English language versions of our games by selling to distributors. So what you might be asking here, Christopher, maybe not be so much about publishing, but about distribution, if I had that correct. The most common instance of a game having multiple publishers is a co-publishing agreement that is it's typically similar to a licensing agreement. Let me think if I can think of an example for this. There aren't many examples of it, but there are sometimes, maybe someone can think of an example in the comments off the top of their head. There are sometimes where like a publisher has a game that's really successful and another publisher wants to do their version of that game that doesn't fit well with the original publisher, and so they kind of work together to make it. But there aren't many instances of that. And I think that's because, not so much because of pros and cons, but because it typically doesn't make sense. It is rarely mutually beneficial for both of those publishers. The other instance that you might have seen at times is sometimes there are publishers who just want to be design studios and they don't want to deal with all the other stuff that comes with publishing. I would differentiate them. They're often end up being design studios instead of publishers. So that can happen. And sometimes also, I guess one other example, I'm thinking of all these examples now. Sometimes I've seen Kickstarter projects where a bigger publisher sees this Kickstarter project that they want to have in their portfolio for the long term, for retailers, for distribution, for all their other endeavors. And so they might sign the rights to that game, but still include the original publisher on the box and in some of the processes that they go through. Yeah. Off the top of my head answer there, I'm sure there are other examples that I'm not thinking of. Giovanni says, maybe for the Architects realm, so he's talking about the potential Architects of the West Kingdom promo realm for Rolling Realms. It could be like the more you use the same number in the realm, the more resources you get, and then you could use those resources to help build the cathedral like in the game. I like that. I mean, that's one of my favorite aspects of Architects of the West Kingdom, where the more workers you put in a certain spot, the better. In fact, there could even be a mechanism where if a 1 is rolled, then all the things that you built up go away. They go off to the jail in Architects, something like that. I'll make a note about that. Build up of numbers. I also like that the dice throwing idea mentioned earlier of the ultimate ability. Yeah, good ideas there. I like that a lot. Bojan says, have I talked about designing or supporting a tabletop RPG in one of your worlds? I've talked about it a little bit, but I'm happy to talk about it here. We've talked about it the most for Scythe, or we did for a couple of years. People kept coming to us and saying, hey, could you make a game could you make a Scythe RPG, a role-playing game? And I've played very, very little role-playing games, very, very few. It's been since I was a teenager since I played one. Um, and so I know very little about it. And so I kind of put the call out there and I said, okay, if someone wants to design part of a role-playing game for Scythe and send it to me, submit it to me, I can consider it. And someone did that. They designed what looked like a really great role-playing game. But I realized that I know so little about role-playing games that I couldn't even judge if it was a good submission or not. And I realized that I know nothing about marketing or selling role-playing games. And it also just isn't my passion. I understand that it might be someone else's passion, but it isn't mine. And so we kind of decided at that point that was a great learning moment for me and for Stonemaier Games. And I kind of decided then that role-playing games weren't going to be something that we were going to pursue. It's so different than what we have gotten decently good at, and that we know and that we're passionate about, that it's not going to be something that we pursue. However, there probably are instances where if a company wanted to design and publish a Scythe role-playing game, I would be happy to connect them with Jakob and help facilitate that, and not really be involved as a publisher, but be excited about it, I guess, in some form. But they would have to work directly with Jakob with that, and if the rights are available in terms of from Jakob's perspective. We have the tabletop rights to Scythe, and so it gets a little messy there. But I basically told Jakob, if someone does that for a role-playing game and he's excited about it, we would support that. We would be happy for him and condone that. Yeah. Yeah, I got it right, David. It was the Knights Around the Table. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that link. Tonka says, it seems as if Scythe has become the Stonemaier game that is being played competitively the most, like in terms of like tournament style play. All of our games are competitive games. It has tier list and players are suggesting special competitive Scythe rules. How do you feel about your potential role in this development? I would like to stay out of that role because that it wasn't that wasn't why I designed Scythe. I did not design Scythe for tournament play. I don't really design any of our games for tournament play. However, I am more than happy for people to run with that and have fun with it. And as long as people are having fun, I am happy to see it happening. But it's not something that it's such like not a motivation or a priority for me when I design or publish a game that it's not something that I really want to get involved with. We have a page on our website for Scythe tournaments. It just gives some basic guidelines and ideas for people to consider if they want to run a Scythe tournament. And I say on the page that we are willing to offer prize support in the right circumstances if someone is running a Scythe tournament. So that's kind of as far as I want my involvement to go. That isn't a knock on people who want to have fun with it, though. I want to really be clear about that. If people are having fun with that, I am very happy to hear that. Jesse says they want to live in the Pumpkin Building. Jesse says, my friend is beginning to design a board game. Any gift ideas that would help them for motivation and inspiration? That's a great question. There are some good books about board game design out there. Gabe Barrett has a really good book. Ignacy Trebuchet has one. Jeff Engelstein has one. Joe Slack has one. I believe the Slack is the last name. So maybe a book if they're a reader and you think that might be a motivating factor for them. There's also, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. This is really nice. This is actually a pretty good resource. The Fail Faster Playtesting Journal is just a little way it's just what it says. It's a playtesting journal of how you can keep notes and structure playtests, and it's a really neat resource. And it's not just a bunch of blank pages with questions. It's a lot more than that. Some great questions in here, some great resources kind of on the back cover, things like that. The Fail Faster Playtesting Journal I would recommend for your friend. And that's really nice of you to support your friend. I love hearing, that's like my favorite type of question. How can I support this person who has a passion? That's awesome. I love that you asked that. Joshua says, bridges are on the mats in between two cities' capitals. You're right. You're totally right. Talking about the bridge miniature the bridge landmark in Tapestry. And you're right, Joshua. He says, so does Charterstone exist in the Tapestry world? No, I mean, this is just, the landmarks in Tapestry or the Tapestry expansion are nods to our other worlds, but all of our universes are separate. There is no greater Stonemaier universe of games. I mean, there is a universe of games, but they're separate universes. Pat says, how closely did you work with Pierce Brown on the creation of Red Rising? The way I approached it was I wanted Pierce to not be impeded by what we were doing with Red Rising, but I wanted him to have as much or as little say as he wanted over the creative process. Basically, I see Pierce's job is writing books, and I did not want to get in the way of that. And so I approached Pierce a few times during the design process to say, hey, here's what we're working on. Here's what it is right now. Also during the kind of the product design process where I said, okay, here's a few covers that we're considering for the game. Which of these do you like the most? Here's what the characters look like in the game. Do these fit how you picture these characters? Little questions like that here and there. But Pierce wasn't really involved in the design process except for the initial brainstorming where he offered some ideas what he might like to see in the game. And then near the tail end, after we had a completed nice looking prototype, I sent it to him to play just to make sure we hadn't totally screwed anything up. And Pierce was happy with what we produced. And so that was pretty much the extent of it. Yeah. Ivan says, a bit off topic, but since you love Civilization games, have you checked out the new Age of Empires 4? He says the developers have included a lot of historical moments in it, kind of the opposite of Tapestry. Tapestry lets you design your own history. I haven't played that, Ivan. No, I don't play many video games, but maybe I'll check out some videos on it if you recommend it. Mary says, what do you threaten playtesters with to keep their silence? Mary's making a joke here, but I want to make it very clear that I don't like to threaten people in any way at all. That's definitely not part of my ideology or philosophy. That's the last thing that I want to do to someone. For playtesters, I just ask them not to talk about our secrets with people. There's no NDA. I don't really do NDAs. I just say, I just tell playtesters that the files that I send up are meant to be kept private. And most importantly, our lead playtesters really get that. And I ask them to kind of reinforce that with the other people they playtest games with. But never threats. I mean, the worst that's ever happened, Mary, is that someone has posted about one of our products publicly, and I just stopped using that person as a playtester. And maybe I tried to get the post taken down if I could, just so the secret isn't out there too much. But never threaten. No, I don't want to threaten people. Yoel says, I'm just here to say hi. Oh, I thought it was a question at first, but he's congratulating me on the Tapestry expansion. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Earlier in this livecast, I recapped all the things that I've revealed over the last week, and the things that I've left to reveal are the Automa solo mode. That'll be tomorrow. That I'll reveal that, thanks to designer David Studley. And the next day I have some odds and ends, like the insert design, the rule books, a few other little things that I haven't mentioned, like extra player tokens, things like that. Oh, and I forgot. No, I did that. Okay, I'm up to date. Joshua says, Between Two Castles was co-published. Yeah, you're totally right. Between Two Castles was co-published. Although, no, it wasn't co-published. It was a licensing arrangement. Co-publishing, I see, as a true partnership where each partner is taking on some responsibilities, some costs. For Between Two Castles and Madkin Ludwig, we just kind of asked for permission from Bezier Games to publish the game with that name and to use mechanisms that were somewhat similar to Castles and Madkin Ludwig, and we offered them a royalty on revenue for that licensing deal. I would not say it's a co-publishing partnership. They had no responsibilities. They didn't have to advertise. They don't have to pay for any parts of the print run. They have it's just kind of they get a royalty check every month for it, and we get to put their name on the game, or not their name, but the Madkin Ludwig portion of the name on the game. Joshua did mention that Renegades Games publishes Shem's games and Clank for North America. Stronghold and TMG brought a lot of European games over. Yeah, I don't know if I would call it, that's more localization than co-publishing, but you're right. The Renegade does this. Renegade often works with, I think, publishers that more so want to be design studios, although I think Shem has published some games on his own through Garphill without working with Renegade. George says, what other specialties do you like to cook for yourself and Megan occasionally besides deviled eggs, which you made quite popular? Actually, George, I'm making deviled eggs today. I've got some turkey eggs in the fridge that I'm really excited about, so I'm making those for lunch. And I'm actually making quail eggs for lunch today, too. Funny that you mentioned eggs. What else do I like to cook? I've gotten more into quicker meals to prepare and eat these days, so I don't do a lot of really intense cooking anymore. or at least not all that often. Sometimes I'll make some Japanese dish. I like Thai food, Vietnamese food. Let me think of a specific dish that I've made recently. Curry. Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, Megan. I hear Megan in the background. So I am making for Megan and friends. I'm making a Thai red curry dish with tempeh and sweet potatoes, a little bit of cilantro, and some fake sausage. What's the name of the sausage? Some sort of sausage will be on top as well. Yeah, that's a dish that I kind of invented on a whim a couple months ago, and I've made it a couple times. Really like it. Tim says he'd love to see a realm based on an Uwe Rosenberg game. That would be cool. I should reach out to Uwe and see if he'd be up for that. Yeah, I'll see if he might be on board with that. Him and Lookout. I think he usually works with them. Devin says, what if you partnered with Free League Publishing to publish a Scythe RPG? That's interesting, Devin. I don't know what Free League Publishing is, but I mean, if they really wanted to publish a Scythe RPG, it wouldn't be so much a partnership with Stonemaier Games, but with Jakob, and I would be happy if that's something that they can make that would be really cool for them, for Jakob, and for Scythe fans. I would be happy to see that, but I don't really want to spend our time and resources on it because we are very busy designing tabletop games and publishing tabletop games. Yeah. Wesley says, in dice design theory, a D10 is not symmetrical while D20 and D12 are completely symmetrical. Yeah, that's kind of, I didn't know that about design theory, but just the feel of rolling a lopsided die feels odd to me, and so that's why we went with the D20 in Tapestry Arts and Architecture. Darren says he would love to see Free League use their Year Zero engine for a Scythe RPG. He might suggest that to them sometime. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to, definitely. Ali says, which of your games do people associate you the most with? Like they hear about Stonemaier Games and go, yeah, they did X game. That's a good question. I would throw that back at you all. I mean, at this point, I would probably guess Scythe or Wingspan. Wingspan is our bestseller. Scythe has been a bestseller for us for a long time now. And Viticulture is our third best-selling game. So probably one of those three, yeah. But probably Wingspan right now. If they want to associate me with the game, I think sometimes people mistakenly associate me with Wingspan. I was happy to serve as the developer for the game, but obviously Elizabeth Hargrave is the designer. But if people associate maybe my face and Stonemaier Games, that would probably be more with Scythe. Yeah. Jesse says, I know you firmly stated my little Scythe, no new Scythe content. Sorry, I need to take a drink here. But what about My Little Scythe? We do have an expansion for My Little Scythe called Pie in the Sky. I don't think we've officially ended My Little Scythe. Like we might continue to make new stuff for it, but I think most likely it'll just be the Pie in the Sky expansion for it. Let's see. Just scrolling through looking for questions at this point. I love the questions and comments here today. Dave says, thoughts on the new Wingspan Android app? I am a PC guy, but I use I have an iPhone and I don't play many digital games, so I haven't played it. I don't really know, but I hope people are enjoying it so far. It's a Monster Couch production. I trust them to do well with the various digital versions of Wingspan. Nick says, what's the last Uwe Rosenberg game you played and what is your favorite? I actually just played Agricola, not for the first time, but I played Agricola on Board Game Arena last Wednesday. And I love Agricola. I really love it. I love Caverna too. I think I actually have a top 10. I don't know if someone wants to post it here, but he is one of the designers that I've played so many games of that I could actually do a top 10 list for his games. And so I do have a video about my top 10 favorite Uwe Rosenberg games. And I think near the top of the list were A Feast for Odin and Patchwork. And I'm forgetting one super obvious one that I think was at the top of the list. Let's go take a look. I'll post it in the comments here. So I'm looking on my YouTube channel for Uwe. Okay, my top 10 Uwe Rosenberg games. Number 1 was A Feast for Odin. Number 2 was Or et Labora, then Patchwork, Bonanza, Caverna, Agricola, Hallertau, Fields of Arle, New York Zoo, and Glass Road. Yeah. I love Uwe games. Mary clarifies that threaten wasn't what she really meant. I think she was just having fun, and I get that, Mary. I know you're just having fun with that. It's such a strong word that I see that I'm like, oh, okay. I don't ever want to threaten anybody. Mary says, was only curious if you used an NDA or if people just honored your desire to keep it confidential. And so far, yeah. I mean, there have been a few blips over the years where not the lead playtester, but one of their other playtesters posted like a question about a playtest on BGG forums. And that's a no-no. I mean, that's a violation of the privacy. And I simply asked them to remove the comment, and I didn't work with that playtester anymore. That type of thing. But it's very low key. I really don't even try to make someone feel bad about it because, yeah, it's a mistake. It's an honest mistake. It's an unfortunate mistake, but mistakes happen like that. I get it. People are responding to the question about when they hear Stonemaier games, what game do they think of first? I'm hearing a mix of Scythe and Wingspan. Ivan says he's never seen turkey eggs. Are they bigger than chicken eggs? It actually depends. I got a carton of 8 turkey eggs from the farmer's market, and some of them were really big, like definitely at least twice as big as chicken eggs, and others were much smaller, just a little bit bigger. So all of them were bigger than chicken eggs, but some of them were much bigger and some of them were about the same size. People are clarifying what Free League is. It sounds like they are a fairly well-known RPG publisher. This shows how little I know about role-playing games. Mario says, have I considered a future game design using a mobile app as a complement? Yeah, I've talked about this a little bit, Mario. I'm happy to discuss it here. My general answer is I don't really have an interest in integrating a mobile app into our game, at least in a way that the tabletop game relies on the mobile app, or even a web version, some web app. And the reason for that, really the big reason for that, isn't, well, the small reason is that I like to turn off screens when I play games. I generally like that. However, there are games with screens and apps that I do enjoy. This isn't a knock on those games at all. But the bigger reason is lack of control. I have complete control, or I have a lot of control when I'm designing a tabletop game or developing a tabletop game over all the components. I can get it to the table whenever I want. I'm not waiting on a third-party app developer to finish the app so I can do a playtest or so that I can actually publish the game. And so I don't want to be beholden to that. I don't want to relinquish that control to something that is so far out of my control. It's not like if someone's a few months behind on the digital app and I can't playtest it, it's not like I can just whip it together and program it myself. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And so, whereas I could do that with a prototype, I spent all weekend working on a new prototype this past weekend. I didn't have to wait for an app developer to send me their version, their updates for it. So yeah, I mean, that's it, just from a design process perspective, and having to rely on a third party creator for something that could go way behind schedule compared to the tabletop version of the game. It's not something that I'm going to pursue for that reason. Yeah. Joshua says, have I played At the Gates of Loyang? That is actually one that I haven't played. I need to. That one's on Board Game Arena, so it's probably pretty easy for me to get to the table, but I have not played that one yet. I've heard it's kind of punishing, though, and that isn't my favorite style of UVA. I like the less, like A Feast for Odin is the easiest game in his lineup of games where you have to feed your workers. It's the easiest one where you can feed them, and I like that quite a bit. Eric says, do you have any positive developments regarding the missing shipping container? It's actually 2 shipping containers, and they're not missing entirely. They are buried. And no, Eric, we don't have it. It is my least favorite thing about anything right now that 2 shipping containers got buried. And before they got buried, we were told that they were scheduled for delivery. And so we accepted orders from people for products that we thought were going to be at our fulfillment center in St. Louis within a few days. And then we got word a few weeks later that those containers, not only were not being delivered, but they had been buried under other containers. I have tried various, I mean, there's very little we can do. I've definitely poked and prodded at our freight shipping company to see what they can do, but they can't seem to do much about it either because they're waiting on these people to get the containers off these other containers and get them out. So I am just kind of anxiously waiting as you might be too. My anxiety would be very different about it if we hadn't accepted orders. But the Stonemaier method is that we don't accept orders if we don't have something already in stock. And I made the mistake. I thought for sure they would be in stock in a few days because we had the delivery notice. We had the scheduling. It was scheduled. The delivery was scheduled, and we've never had a delivery scheduled and have it not show up. Maybe a few days late, but just not show up. So, yeah, it's baffling to me that it's happening. But it is still happening, and I really have no idea when they'll be unburied. I'm hoping it's soon, but we'll keep you updated. Anyone who placed those orders, we'll keep you updated in the coming weeks. I think Joe's going to do an update next week if we don't have any other news. Let's see. I missed a few questions here. Tim says, do you think there's a chance for another Between Two Cities expansion in the future? I don't think so, Tim. I see that game as pretty much what it needs to be, what it can be, fulfilling its full potential. So an expansion, I don't see that for Between Two Cities. Yeah. Sean says, I may have missed it, but is Stonemaier Games doing a Black Friday Cyber Monday? I don't think so. I mean, that isn't typical Stonemaier game method to do a sale like when everyone else is doing a sale. We do have sales from time to time. Like right now, our featured product of the month right now is the speckled eggs from Wingspan. So we put those on sale. Those are on sale right now. We also have Tapestry on sale for people who want to get Tapestry in preparation for the expansion next month. But and then there will be a sale on Tapestry Arts and Architecture on December 1st when we do the pre-order for that. So I don't see something else different happening for our other products. Maybe at the last minute I'll have some sort of inspiration for it. But our champions already get 25% off. That's a big, big discount off anything they ever buy, whether or not it's on sale. So I don't think so, Sean. But I'll look through my past notes about it and see if I have any ideas if I should do something. But probably not. If I even do something, it probably won't be timed with exactly those days. I just don't like doing sales at the same time that everyone else is doing a sale. Mario says, I love how Stonemaier Games uses miniatures in games. Are you planning to use miniatures in future projects? If the situation calls for it, yeah, we'll use miniatures. It has been on my mind a little bit that miniatures use plastic, and part of our eco-friendly measures involve using less plastic if we can. So if a game really doesn't need miniatures, I'm not going to force them into the game. But if it really enhances the experience, that's my number one priority, to bring joy to tabletops worldwide. And part of that, if it comes through in a big, beautiful miniature, yeah, I'll put that in the game or the expansion. Pat says, thank you so much for the wonderful games. Our cats enjoy the boxes. Favorite box our cats enjoy is the Viticulture box. Yeah, I should do a top 10 list of best Stonemaier boxes for cats, or best like game boxes for cats, with obviously Isle of Cats being at the top of the list. They wipe the floor with their box top, but I could do maybe an April Fool's list of that for that. I'll make a note of that. April Fool's cats in boxes. Tom says, have I ever considered selling wall art of your games? I have a board game room and would love to have your games on the wall since they are most frequently played. So Tom, my thinking about this, it's a good question. And so far there are a few options for that, but they're artist focused. Like for example, if you would like some prints from Wingspan, you can go to the artist website. I believe it's Red and Blue Designs, or Red and Blue something. And you can buy prints from Natalia and Anna. If you want scythe art, there are several companies that Jakob partners with to make scythe prints of his art, and you can buy through those companies and directly support Jakob. The key here, the pattern that you're seeing here, is that I want those funds to go to the artists, not to Stonemaier Games. I want them to, because the artists are the ones that spent the time on that art. Even though we actually have the rights to that, but we have the rights just so that we can give them immediately back to the artist, basically. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it gives us a little bit more control over circumstances where it might get out of control. But so it's something that if our artists ever want to sell the art that they've created for our games, we absolutely condone that. I will post about it. I'll put it in our e-newsletter. I'll post it on our website. And I mentioned some examples of artists that are already doing that. So that's our method. We're totally on board with it. But it does actually take a little bit of work off us. It's not something that we are pursuing, but we are happy for artists to pursue that. So if you have, Tom, if you have a specific illustration in mind, let me know, or ideally maybe let the artists know and let them know what I just said if they don't already know it, and I'm happy to facilitate that and help that process. Tim says, are there any Stonemaier onesies left for his incoming baby child? And I don't think we have any right now. We did print some really small toddler Stonemaier ambassador T-shirts at one point. I think I have one or two. Actually, no, I don't have them. I give them to Joe. Joe, I think, has them right now. They're really, really, really tiny. So there might be some around. Joe might have some. Looks like we reached the end of the questions. So let me recap the topics I covered today. I talked about the stuff that I've showcased in the Tapestry expansion. Some of it is right there. Tomorrow I'll talk about solo. Talked about how we did a big playtest on Monday. Was it Monday? It seems so long ago. Monday. I spent some time yesterday paying designer royalties because we pay our designer royalties once a month. Recent plays include the Shards of Infinity expansion, Into the Horizon, Seven Wonders Duel, and Gaia Project. I also appeared on the Decision Space podcast that went live today to talk about Seven Wonders Duel. And I did blogs about the eco-friendly status of our games right now and talked about font rights. That was a blog post last week. I did a video about Red Rising, kind of a behind-the-scenes look at some of the decisions we made that maybe I could have made better during the production process for Red Rising. I've been playing Rolling Realms. In fact, I'll probably play Rolling Realms this afternoon. I have it scheduled, I think, around 4 o'clock. I might do a round of Rolling Realms here on Facebook Live. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you all for joining me today. I love these questions. I'm going to go ahead and post this video over on YouTube. And if you have follow-up questions, that's the best place to post those questions. I'll see them there. I don't get notifications from Facebook when there are new questions here. But yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday and a great week. And I will see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye.